Welcome back, everybody. This is the last lesson in the algebra unit. As I promised yesterday, there is no new algebra. However, as I threatened yesterday, now we're starting to get into word questions, and I know that this brings its own level of difficulty for people in and of itself. However, math is nothing if not for real-world problems, so we gotta deal with that sort of stuff. Um, Many of you, we've touched on it a little bit in my class. I know a lot of you knew this back from elementary, but one of the things that we have to do is define our variables. First and foremost, we have to remember that a variable is an unknown quantity. It is a number, but that number represents something. What does that number represent? Well, that's what you're trying to define. One of the things that I have certainly tried to impress upon you is to not use X and Y anymore, but to try and use letters that make sense. So W for the width of a triangle, K for Krista's age. I personally would have chosen Y for years, but it does depend on the question and what's going on. If there are two or more related unknowns, try to make one of the quantities be the variable and then make the other one written in terms of the first variable. This will make a little bit more sense as we go along. So let's get into it. Hadley is 10 years younger than her brother. So let's define H as Hadley's age. So if Hadley is, well, however old Hadley is, um, we don't know the brother's age, so I'm going with B. We could just simply define our variables that way. In this case, we're not being asked to solve anything. We're just looking to define variables. And I could have chosen any variables. I could have used X. I could have used Q. I could have used alpha. It really doesn't matter. I just recommend that the letters make sense in the context of the question. So I'm a little more lackadaisical. The proper formatting is displayed above. However, I tend to be a little lazy and apparently a little messy when I write. Now, in this case, we really don't have a whole lot to work on. We know that there's a number. We know there's a second number. N is typically used for number of something, and then I just randomly used X. In which case, let's define one number in terms of the other. It means that N is 1/3 of the second number. Length of a rectangle is 6 centimeters more than its width. Now, I tend to use a cursive L so it doesn't get confused with the number 1. Now, one thing you do need to get in the habit of is units. So in this case, I'm making the assumption that since it's 6 centimeters longer, that it must be being measured in centimeters. Gah, gah. Okay, so my length is 6 centimeters longer than the width. Oh, I didn't need to do that. Oh well, I did anyways. Total number of boys and girls, so B is for girls. I'm kidding, of course it's for boys. And G is for girls. You know, I could hear Keegan just complaining about that. So B plus G equals 31. All right. Jade works at a baseball park. She's paid $8 an hour plus 75 cents commission for every bag of popcorn she sells. If she sells 52 bags of popcorn in a 4-hour shift, how much money is she going to earn? Now, one thing I learned is that a lot of people don't know how to calculate commission. Last year, I thought people would know it. I was very, 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 very wrong. Um, we'll deal with that under the write the equation section, but I want you to be aware this is where I'm showing you how to calculate commission. No excuses when the assignment comes up or the test comes up and you don't know how to do it, because here it is. Have I mentioned it enough times for you to realize that you need to know it? Okay, good. So H equals hours. Now, I said before you need to tell me units. When what you're defining is the unit, like H is for hours, you don't need to tell me that hours is measured in hours. I can figure that one out. However, I don't know how you're getting paid, so you do need to specify that earnings is in money, in dollars. All right, now the equation. The earnings equals $8 an hour times by the number of hours worked. I think hopefully you're all familiar with that from real life scenarios. I know not all of you have jobs, but the 75-cent commission. So for every bag he sells, he's getting 75 cents times by the number of bags. If this was a percentage, then it would be the percent times by the number of bags. The question gives us that he works, she, Jade is a she, 4-hour shifts. Ah, sells, oh no, 52 bags. And bed math skills to solve. It's a word question, so it must be worthy of a word answer. $71 smackaroos and a 4-hour shift. How's that? Common question that drives people nuts. Thinking of two consecutive numbers. The two numbers add to 95. What are the two numbers? They're just two numbers, so there's nothing really to name these things. X and Y is fine. So the keyword is add. X plus Y equals 95. Now, the second part to recognize, this is insolvable. Okay? We cannot solve one equation with two unknowns. So you have to make the equation, you have to make one of the numbers in terms of the others. Fortunately, the question gives me a little extra information. Two consecutive numbers. So it means I can change it like this. I still don't know what x is, but I know that x plus 1 are two consecutive numbers, right? Think of it this way. 2 and 3 are two consecutive numbers, or I could do it as 2 and 2 plus 1. 1,000 and 1,000 or 1 are two consecutive numbers, or I could do 1,000 plus 1,000 and 1,000 plus 1. Okay, I hope everybody's satisfied. Thus endeth the algebra lesson. Of course, this is not going to, make algebra disappear. You're going to see more of it in this course. You're definitely going to see more of it over your high school career. And if all goes well, you'll be off to university and you'll have to use it there. So here's your homework in the bottom right-hand corner, and good luck.